All right, we're going to see how this goes. We're now live, and I think I've got everything rigged up right. There's absolutely no doubt this is the first live stream. I am going to have an equipment failure. If I don't say that and I'm overconfident, then I probably will have an equipment failure. If I actually say it and anticipate it, then it's actually not going to happen. So I'm being a little cautious there. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll see how the internet here is going to keep up. The audio should be pretty good. I'm monitoring it to make sure that everything, all the cables and everything are behaving. So welcome to the first live stream on Cockpit Club. You guys are my absolute top supporters. You guys are the most loyal. You guys contribute the most to the channel, especially by being in an exclusive community where you can kind of see the behind the scenes stuff. And here, it's going to start to pick up just a little bit more as we move forward. I'm going to start calling for more and more feedback as I get, sift through some ideas for content and whatnot, and kind of gauge the audience, the really important audience, which is you guys that really love the content and are willing to support the content as you do here on Cockpit Club. I want your opinion, and that's what I'm going to be doing here soon. So you guys are super important to the channel. It's why I'm going through, the trouble and the effort of doing these live streams, because it means a lot that you guys are here to support what I'm doing on Aviation 101. So got a couple of topics to cover today. So welcome to the first Cockpit Club live stream. We're going to talk about the new series, the High West series, which part 1 is out now. Part 2 is going to go live Monday. Today is Saturday. So that'll be part 2. It's going to be a 7-part series, I think. 7. I have 7 planned out right now based on the footage that I have. We got back from the trip about 3 weeks ago. And I've been editing nonstop. In fact, right behind me here is part 3. That's it's ready to go in Adobe Premiere, and I'm getting ready to edit that one. So the High West trip was an extremely awesome adventure that my buddy Miles and I went on in his 1969 Piper Cherokee 180. We had that thing loaded to the gills, and we went into some really cool places, met up with some really cool people. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit, and we'll have Miles here to join that conversation too, because he was obviously a huge part of that trip. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth in the High West trip. We're going to talk about high density altitude, some of the really cool places we went into, and then of course at the very end of this live stream, what probably a lot of you are even here for is the giveaway. And this is a brand new Lightspeed Zulu 3, and I have a bowl right here behind the Mac, and that's got all the names of all of you guys in there. And I'm going to draw a name. I'm going to pick one of you to be the recipient of this headset, and I'm going to ship it out to you guys. This is a brand new Lightspeed Zulu 3. We're going to do that at the end. So I kind of already touched on this. First Cockpit Club live stream. We're going to see how this goes. I'm in my editing studio right now, and the eStore fulfillment happens in here too. This is all the inventory t-shirts and stuff. So it's all happening in this one little room. But we're making room for it. I think we've got a decent setup here. I've got the second mic here ready for Miles, and he's going to step in here in just a little bit. And just in case you haven't seen it yet, part 1 of the High West series went out just under a week ago. It went out on this past Monday. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to roll the first 3 minutes of part 1, and that's going to be a bit of a transition here. While you're seeing that on the live stream, Miles is going to come in and take his seat, and we are going to go from there. So without further ado, welcome to the first Cockpit Club live stream. I really appreciate you being here. It looks like we've got a whopping 3 viewers right now. That's awesome. That's really great. I definitely could have done a lot more to kind of get the hype going on this, and I'm still trying to figure out the very platform that I designed on Cockpit Club. And I'm trying to figure out the best way for me to post to get a rhythm, a good cadence going, to make sure I keep content coming out to you guys and keep the content meaningful to you guys. I don't want to just be putting out garbage just to put out garbage for y'all. I feel like that happens a lot when it comes to platforms like this, paid platforms, and with people on YouTube and whatnot. I don't want to do that. I want to keep it meaningful, and I'm working on some good content that should be coming out that you guys will really enjoy from this High West series. On top of that, you can comment on the live stream. By the way, you can leave a comment. I can see your comment come through on here. And at the very end, we're going to take questions and answers, and we'll be bringing the questions up here on camera, on the screen, and we're going to answer them here. So by all means, if you have a question, go ahead and send it in the platform here. I will see it come up on the screen, and I will go ahead when we get to that time, I'll scroll back and start going through some of the questions. So let's see. I'm looking at my notes here. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I did want to kind of ping the audience, and you can leave a comment on this post on Cockpit Club, or leave a comment on the video, or throw a message here in the live stream. I was curious how you guys liked the little snippets that I was sending while we were on the High West trip. I believe I sent one out, kind of like a behind the scenes clip of me with the camera midfield on the runway when Miles was going around the corner, or the pattern, and I was filming him coming around the corner with the canyon in the backdrop. Kind of showed the behind the scenes there, what's going on. We're spending an extra hour at the airport to get these shots and make sure it looks epic and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of content that I feel like is pretty cool to send out to you guys. That plus, of course, these live streams. I need to get back into the rhythm of doing full-length flights, because I know a lot of you are really, really expecting those and really, really enjoy those, and they're super valuable to a lot of y'all. So I definitely want to get into that. So anyways, starting to ramble there. Let's go ahead and roll this clip. If you haven't seen it yet, this is the first 3 minutes of part 1 of the High West series, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to roll the clip, and Miles is going to step in here, and we'll continue talking about the series.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law, hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night, try to catch me howling at the moon.
The American High West, an absolute playground for anything in the great outdoors. Whether it be by airplane, by four-wheel drive, or by foot, the High West of the United States does not disappoint. In this series, Miles and I are going to take his 1969 Piper Cherokee 180 through the Badlands of Arizona, Utah, and Idaho, while stopping to explore a handful of places along the way. Welcome to Part 1. The main reason Miles and I planned a trip out west in the first place had to do with Jason Miller from the Finer Points. Jason is a top-notch instructor in the San Francisco Bay Area, and he puts on different courses across the country highlighting survival, mountain flying, and for the first time ever, canyon flying in the American Southwest. Miles signed up for the Canyons course, and he asked me to come along as his instructor for the course, so we made plans to head west. This airplane is not your average Cherokee 180. It's equipped with a Robertson Stoll kit complete with stall fences, leading-edge cuffs on the wings, drooping ailerons, and a flap extension across the fuselage. It's no Super Cub, but it'll get off the ground a bit easier than the average Cherokee. Today marks 3 days from our departure westbound, and Miles and I are going to run some drills to clean up his traffic patterns, tighten his approaches, nail his touchdown point, and practice some emergencies. I want to place a large focus on always maintaining positive control of the airplane. It's going to be a long day of flying, but of course we can't simply go use the grass runway at Atlanta without paying Cooper's Barbecue a visit.
All right, so that was the first 3 minutes of part 1. We have Miles here, whom I unfortunately had to take a long trip with. But yeah, glad you were able to come sit in on this. I think it's valuable for you to give your perspective of the whole trip too.
Absolutely.
Because nobody likes listening to me. I mean,
well, thanks for having me.
You're
you
absolutely
put
right.
up with me for 10 days.
I did, in a really small airplane, and I had to let you fly.
That's tough.
That was tough. I'm just kidding. So we were gone for about 10 days on this High West trip, and originally we were not going to call it the High West trip. And barbecue. I just saw that comment come through. So originally, I was going to call it the Canyons Course or the Canyons series, and there was a reason for that, and it was because of the original reason that we were going to go on the trip. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that, like why we originally had the idea to go on this trip?
Yeah. So it kind of started. I saw Jason with the Finer Points, and I saw a lot of his adventure trips, and I tried signing up for the Mountains course, but that ended up being booked.
Right.
And then I was actually going to Alaska during their island flying course. So the only thing that was left was the canyon flying course, which is actually pretty close to home.
Yeah, it wasn't far at all. It was actually the closest of all of them to us.
Right.
Yeah.
So it worked out, and I needed an instructor for the trip, and they could have provided one, but I know this mediocre instructor out of San Marcos, so
I think mediocre is a bit of a positive word.
Figured you might want to come along and.
Well, yeah, and I always like to take opportunities like that because it allows me to instruct in an environment that's unconventional.
Right.
You know, most people around here they're instructing in the environment in Central Texas, and they don't have too much experience being a legit CFI outside Texas, or in a totally different environment where you have gnarly terrain, crazy density altitude, and you short runways and this and that.
Right.
So yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity for you asking me to do that. When you asked me, I was like, "Are you sure you want to take a trip with me?" and then, of course, when I mentioned I'm going to film it,
Right.
obviously we're not going to go to this epic place, and I'm not going to film it. I have to film this.
Right.
I was like, "Do you understand how much?" I should have preloaded some pictures in the live stream. That's gonna come later. I'm already taking notes on what I need to do better next time or what I need to prepare for better. I would love to show you guys a picture here of I took in I think our first hotel room. I think it was in Sedona that first night.
Yep.
And it was just hilarious with my gear spread out everywhere. There was like the 2 Pelican cases, and all the gear was taken out of the Pelican cases, spread all out on the table. I was like, "Oh yeah, you're not getting the table. Sorry, it's mine." And
it would have been a sight for sore eyes walking from the airport over to that Sky Lodge or whatever it is.
oh yeah, and that would have been cool because we originally tried to stay at a hotel that I knew of in Sedona that's walking distance from the ramp. Ish. It's a walk,
Yeah. Not bad.
But it's not bad. If you have a lot of gear, it's bad. But
It was like 200 pounds of gear.
yeah, but luckily a lot of it could roll, and we kind of made it work. But they were like totally booked up because apparently it's high season in Arizona. I've stayed at the Sky Ranch Lodge before, and we couldn't make it happen. So, but anyways, that's the original reason that we planned this trip, and I was going to call it the Canyons series because we were attending the Canyons of the Southwest course with Jason Miller of the Finer Points. If you haven't seen Jason Miller's YouTube channel, it's called The Finer Points on YouTube. He also has, he's on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Learn the Finer Points. And makes really great content. He's a true general aviation ambassador. He's really, really into general aviation. He's super, super active as a CFI, and he's awesome at it. And he puts on these courses. He does the mountain course, the Orcas Island course, which is that overwater survival? Is that what that is?
Yes, that's up, the San Juan Islands.
Yeah, like Seattle.
Yeah, and you
area.
actually go into Canada too.
Yeah. So there's the mountains, the San Juan Islands, and then now the canyons.
Yeah, so this was their first year.
Right. And that's another thing. This was the first time that Jason Miller and his team had put on the Canyons of the Southwest course, and I think overall it went pretty well.
Yeah.
There were little hiccups here and there, just with logistical stuff, but
It was. I was impressed. I mean, that very, very well put together.
right. Yeah. I agree. I think it was really well put together. Fun times with these amazing aviators, amazing mentors that you come across at these type of things and whatnot. Just absolutely phenomenal. So that was the original reason for this trip, and that was the whole idea behind the timing of the trip too.
Right. It's kind of a long commute for you too. I mean, you're like 2 hangars away.
Yeah, I know. I had to battle some major traffic walking one hangar row over to your airplane. Anyways, that was the original reason. Joining the Canyons of the Southwest course with Jason Miller from the Finer Points and his team. And that was the timing behind it too. So originally, the original plan was to go out there, attend the course, maybe putt around Utah a little bit and come back. So I was like, yeah, like 3 or 4 videos is probably what we could get quality content out of with that. And then one night after we flew or something, I don't even know if we flew,
It was I think it was the initial time we met up to do some flight planning, kind of general overview. How do we want to get there?
I think you were like cleaning your hangar or something. So we met out there at the airport, and then we went and grabbed some beer afterward, and we sat there at the bar with our iPads
Right.
and for flight, and we were like looking at the route, and we were like, well, if we're that far into northern Arizona, southern Utah, why don't we just go to Salt Lake City?
Right.
And then you were like, why don't we go to Boise if we're going that far north?
Yeah.
And then it just evolved from there. And then the original plan was we were going to go up into Idaho, over into Montana. I've never been to Montana. And then over into Wyoming. I've never been there either. Actually, I marked Utah and Idaho
Right.
off my list on this trip.
Check out the national parks.
Yeah, we were going to go check out some national parks up there. That ended up not happening, and we're going to talk about why here in just a little bit. One of the reasons was entirely my fault. It was entirely my fault. So, do you have anything to add on that? Like how the idea came up or how it evolved?
No, I think that's pretty much covered it.
That's pretty much what it was. We were going out there for the Canyons course, and then it just kind of like
It grew.
spread like wildfire from there. Because we have our creative minds with a nice dark porter.
And I've never flown. The furthest west I've flown, GA, has been to Sierra Blanca, which is Ruidoso in New Mexico. I bought the Cherokee in New York, so I've kind of explored the west coast, or rather east coast, flying down.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah, the other coast.
That's like, and that's funny because I've never explored that area.
Right.
I've flown down the entire west coast,
Right.
but there's like very little flying I've done on the east coast. So that's kind of funny. We were kind of roles reversed there.
Right.
So yeah, we ran into some issues were obviously more minor than others. There was a kind of a range of issues that we ran into. But initially, and this is from a wholly, like a completely technical standpoint as far as the cameras go, running a YouTube channel and making aviation films. I tend to not like to call myself a vlogger, because you're laughing because you know how heated I get when this conversation comes up. I tend to not call myself a vlogger because I'm not out to put myself on camera and show people what I'm doing. I want to show people what you can do with a little airplane, and show them the beauty that you can achieve, the places you can go, all of this. Like Sedona, it's a totally different world, and it's a day's flight. It's an easy day's flight.
Oh yeah,
from here,
absolutely.
And we're not like in the West. We're not in the mountains here. We're like a 2.5 hour drive from the beach, Right. We're like really close to the coast.
And we're not flying a fast airplane by any means.
We are flying a very slow airplane. It's like a 172. It's really incredible how many people don't think about that. And they think that if they want to go to Monument Valley, or they want to go to Sedona, or they want to go to, Santa Monica or something like that, they need an extraordinary airplane.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you really don't. I've done a bunch of stuff in a 172 that a lot of people are like, you did that in a 172? Yeah. I mean, why not? You just have to make a few fuel stops to get there.
That's half the fun.
That's half the fun. You find these crazy places. More on that later. So from a technical standpoint, preparing the cameras for the trip, I've been using GoPros for many, many years. Mm-hmm. A range of models. Hero 3s for a while, and then I got a Hero 4, Hero 5, and then so right now I've got 2 Hero 5s and 4 DJI Osmo Action cameras. So whenever these cameras, it doesn't matter what brand, they all have this problem. The GoPro Hero 7 was a joke. That thing shut off so many times on me in Alaska, and I got rid of them as soon as I got back from the Alaska trip. So I've got 4 DJI Osmo cameras. They were giving me lots of overheating problems. And after doing some experimenting, I discovered that it wasn't just the DJIs. I was able to make the GoPros fail under identical conditions. So I was running into a lot of overheating issues, and I mentioned it in part 1 when we were out doing all of our landing practice and short field, soft field, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't even that hot that day. It was like 96 Fahrenheit of a high.
It was warm.
It was warm, and we were sweating, but it wasn't like 115,
No. Definitely hotter days in Texas.
That we've definitely have had many other hotter days in Texas. So the cameras were overheating left and right. I was getting super frustrated. I think I even said to you, I was like, man, and this is the first time we had like really spent a day flying together doing the training. I was like, man, you're about to see me get frustrated. And if I get snippy, it has nothing to do with you or your performance. You're doing awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm not happy with the cameras right now. And I ran into lots of overheating issues. Bottom line is I had to work for about a day and a half to solve that. Used the scientific method and a little bit of engineering, and we finally fixed the issue. I was placing the cameras under heat lamps and everything, intentionally heating them up with a control variable and everything. And the one thing that kept the cameras from overheating was air circulation. Air circulation is key. And
that's absent in the Cherokee.
And that's absent in the Cherokee. It's absent in the 172 as well, because I've had cameras that are, on the glare shield or on the windshield or whatever, they've overheated before. And I've never really done anything about it because it was so rare.
Right.
This was happening literally all day. And I was covering cameras up when we would get out of the airplane. I was putting them under the seat and stuff. Nope, didn't help. Like they were overheating in about 5 minutes.
Right. It was. The Stratus was overheating. That was warm.
It was warm, man. Everything was overheating. Everything was shutting down. We were getting frustrated, and we're like about to leave on this long trip, and everything's going wrong with all the equipment.
That was Sunday, and I think we were leaving Wednesday, or we were going to leave Wednesday.
I think we left Thursday, right?
Right. We were going to leave Wednesday.
Yeah, but the weather looked great, so we were like, whatever, we can take an extra day. And I needed that extra day to prepare with the cameras and everything. So ultimately, I mounted little USB-powered fans on the side of the cameras, on the side of the cameras that were exposed to the sun. I wasn't worried about the camera that was up on, on the ceiling, and I wasn't worried about the camera that I was out on the wing. The one out on the wing had circulation. It was okay.
Lots of airflow.
It was out there in 130 mile an hour wind. Yeah. So that's ultimately how we solved that issue, but that was a big hurdle to get over. And I was really worried about losing a ton of great footage, but we ended up not. And it worked out. The fans kept the cameras cool, and I was really happy with the way that panned out, and I was able to successfully get rid of that issue, like engineer it into non-existence, and we solved it.
We never had another lick of issues with that.
Never had another overheating issue. Leads me to my next issue. This issue, and I'm still on technical issues here. This all has to do with me and recording, cameras, YouTube channel, Aviation 101, all that kind of stuff. For the first 4 days of the trip, and this is in part 1. No, it's in part 2. So this hasn't been released yet. This hasn't gone public yet. For the first 4 days of the trip, there was no intercom audio. I'll wait for you to stop laughing. It was such a frustrating moment when I discovered it. We were in the hotel in Salt Lake City, and we were taking a full day in Salt Lake City to kind of take a breather and let me dump some footage and go to our distillery. And I was sitting there dumping all of my footage and going through the audio files and everything, and I was like, well, let me just take a look at the audio files and make sure that there's a waveform there. And I opened the first one, no waveform. And that was the leg from San Marcos to Winkler County in West Texas.
Yes.
And we weren't recording, but I was rolling audio,
right,
so I can have the audio to splice in with B-roll. And I was like, why is there no waveform? And then I was like, how long was it like that? And I went through, and I went through all the clips, all the flights. Oh, man. And I just, like, leaned back in my chair, and you were like, what? And I grabbed my coat and my key, and I was like, I'm going to go for a walk. And I left. I couldn't. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. So ultimately what happened is I have a splitter on the airplane's panel. So you have your dual headset jacks. One's a headphone, one's a mic. I bundled the cables on the way out of the headphone jack going down to the audio recorder. And the way I zip tied them was an absolutely idiotic way to zip tie them. I zip tied them in such a way that all of the weight that bundle of cables was putting on that splitter was hanging on one of the couplers, the jacks, that was transitioning the cable from one type of plug to another. And basically I must have bumped it with my leg, or my boot caught it when I was getting in the plane or something, and it popped that plug out about 1/4 inch. And that was enough to disconnect it. I was making sure that the audio recorder was plugged in on the audio recorder side, but I didn't even bother to check up the line. And that was really, that was a moment that I was like, I can't believe I just did that. And it is, my heart
That was bad.
skipped a beat. Yeah. It was bad for you. It was bad for me. You just had to sit back and watch me get mad. So ultimately, same thing with flying. Like, you make a mistake, you goof something up, move on, learn from it,
Yeah.
make sure it does not happen again, and move on. Learn from it and move on. So that's what I had to do. I had to analyze how that happened. When we got back to the airplane, I zip tied the crap out of that bundle and made sure that it wasn't going to come apart again. And for the rest of the trip and from here on out, I'm going to be recording with two audio recorders.
Lots of zip ties.
Lots of zip ties.
I've never seen someone go through so many zip ties.
Oh, man, I went through easily like 300 zip ties on that trip. Maybe not that many.
We had to go get some more in
150.
Boise.
We had to go to Lowe's in Boise and get some more zip ties for all the cables. So fix the issue. I introduced an extra layer of redundancy there to make sure that we had audio no matter what, and we conquered that issue. But the problem is losing that audio made me want to go back and redo the first 4 days of the trip, which kind of started to change our plans, which we talked about how our original plan was to go up into Montana and like Kalispell Glacier National Park and then Wyoming, Jackson, all that. Well, we talked about it and we decided to scrub that. That was the big reason why. And that's because we lost all of the audio in Monument Valley, flying over the Grand Canyon,
Right.
flying in and out of Sedona, Page, all of that audio gone.
We didn't start getting audio till
Moab to Salt Lake City International.
right.
And I'm really glad we have audio on that leg, because that's going to be part 3. That's going to be part. Actually, that's this one. That's this one that I'm going to start editing here soon. So Moab to Salt Lake City International is going to be part 3. The Chicago O'Hare video is really popular, and I know people like those kind of technical videos of showing a complex procedure, even though it wasn't really complex, but is busy. We're flying a Cherokee 180 into Salt Lake City International, a Bravo.
That was cool.
It was cool. It was really cool. And we did have audio for that one. So that one is going to be a full video. And that'll be really, really great. So I'm just like looking at that note, talk about audio issues, and it still makes me mad. That's a trigger, man. That's a trigger.
Don't look at it.
I can't look at it. Anyways, so that was a big audio issue we had. We had to backtrack, and that's ultimately what we ended up doing. Is after we were in Idaho, we came back down toward Utah and Arizona and kind of redid what we did and made sure we got good footage, good audio of it, and went from there. So
What didn't suck. We got
which didn't suck, and it actually was really, really cool because we had extra time to hit a couple of other landmarks, and we could talk about that after this next point, kind of what we did there. So the next point I have written down here is Boise, Idaho. I've never been to Idaho, and the whole Idaho thing was your idea.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Well, welcome to Idaho. You made it to Idaho.
Yeah, I did. I marked it off my list.
So I've got some family, grandfather that's got a cabin up there, and we went and hiked around the cabin, saw him.
It's pretty epic.
And so that's some absolutely killer country. I mean, we drove around, saw some backcountry strips, saw some killer sights and sounds, and spent a little time in Boise. Boise is a cool little town.
It is. Yeah, I liked it.
Just so many places to explore. We could have spent 2 weeks just hiking.
Easy. And we rented a Toyota Sequoia 4-wheel drive, and that was cool to have a vehicle that we could just kind of like we knew we could kind of go where we wanted.
Right.
This is not an advertisement for Toyota, for the record. Nobody paid me to say that. But we rented that for whatever it was, 3 or 4 days, however long we were there, and we were able to just kind of explore and just go places. And like driving from where we were at to Atlanta, Idaho, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And it was what is it, like 20 miles that we went, but it took us like 2 hours.
Yeah, it's just winding trails,
because you're going no faster than like 10 miles an hour.
Right.
And that was just super cool. And like you said, the hiking was epic.
Yeah.
It was So that was super cool. We spent some really quality time there at the cabin for national security reasons. I can't disclose the location. Not really. It's just out of privacy, out of respect and privacy for the gentleman that owns the place. We don't want to talk about exactly where it was, but we did see 2 A-10 warthogs. That was very cool. Low level, rip right over our heads at the cabin.
I'd say they were no higher than 500 feet above the cabin.
Oh, it was much less than that. It was like sub 200.
Yeah, they were low.
They were low down in the valley there. And that was super cool. And that's what made me start to think, like, what is this place? It's like A-10s ripping overhead. But
it's not a military training area.
No, it's not. Anything. It's not. So after Boise, so we spent our time at the cabin, and that's going to be a whole video in and of itself. So we spent some time at the cabin there and outside of Boise up in the mountains. Came back to Boise. Did we spend a whole day in Boise, or did we spend a night in Boise?
Yeah.
The part of the next day, I think.
So we came down the mountain. We got there that night. Got a hotel. What was that? Thursday night? I think it was.
I don't even remember the day of the week.
I think it was a Thursday. Then we got spent all day. Did we spend a day? That was when we kind of visited our plans.
I don't think we did. So
we got back into Boise. We kind of figured out what's our game plan from here.
So we had a game plan to, when we get back to Boise, we were going to leave our stuff at the hotel or in the FBO, as the case may be, and we were going to take off in the Cherokee, head up into the mountains, and we were going to hit some strips, like Johnson Creek was one of them.
Right.
There were a few other grass strips up there, like backcountry Idaho strips.
As backcountry as we can get in a Cherokee.
About as backcountry as we can get in a Cherokee. And we were going to be lightly loaded, fuel the tabs, popping flaps in on takeoff and stuff like that. And it was going to be really cool. The weather just wasn't cooperating. And we saw it just to be a smart move to get the heck out of Idaho.
Right.
Because there was a cold front coming.
Oh, yeah.
And I think like after we left, it started snowing.
Yeah.
The weather was kind of starting to get a little dodgy.
It really never got any better since we left.
No, it didn't.
I've been keeping an eye on the weather up there, and they just got snow after snow, and it'd melt and stay overcast, and it's just nasty.
Right.
So I think we left at a good time.
Yeah, no, I think we did too. So we spent a night in Boise. I had some errands to run anyways, so it was like whatever.
Yeah.
And then we did our went to Lowe's, zip ties, and just ran some errands there in Idaho. And once we were done with that, we started heading back toward the south, and we were heading back down to Page.
We made a stop in
Eureka, Nevada.
Interesting place.
See, I've heard. Okay, Nevada, whatever. Nevada. That's Eureka, Nevada. I'm not gonna diss the place. Okay. However, when we got there, we were the only humans probably within 5 miles of the airport, except for the guy that was staring at us through the window when we taxied in. And I was a little creeped out.
Weird.
And I was like, okay, well, I got to pee really bad, so I'm going to walk into the FBO. And I did. And he was just like standing at the door, staring at me through the window as I walked toward him. And I was like, this is really uncomfortable.
It was weird because the airport, the facilities were super nice.
Yeah, it was super nice.
The taxiways, the runways, they all looked freshly paved or resealed. And it was just dead.
I started talking. Super nice guy. The guy that was staring at us, super nice guy. He came out and helped us fuel and everything. And we were standing out there on the ramp. And I was kind of talking to him and trying to like feel him out. I was just trying to make friendly conversation, but he really wasn't talking much. But he was like just kind of standing there watching me fuel the airplane, and it felt really weird.
It was awkward.
And and like I said, he was a super nice guy. And then and I said, well, like, do y'all have any like attractions in town or anything like that? Okay, actually, what I asked him first was, do y'all get much traffic through here at the airport? And he just kind of like, no, we don't. Y'all are the first ones in like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. And I kind of like looked at you and I was like, oh, I need to get out of here.
Check the fuel.
Yeah, we need to sump the fuel. And then he said something that just like, this is totally off topic, but he said something that made me be like, okay, we're getting back in the airplane. We're leaving now. He said, I wouldn't recommend going into town. That's the people here are natives, and they don't like much visitors.
They don't like outsiders.
Yeah, outsiders is what he said. They don't much like outsiders, and I was like, good to know. Thanks for the hospitality, sir. We are leaving.
Yep, time to go.
And we climbed into the airplane. We were like, go, 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 go. And then
that was kind of an interesting departure. So we took off and really couldn't just climb straight out and
we were gonna try
clear the.
And then we were like, yeah, we're not gonna clear that ridge, or we would like barely clear it
because it sat like right in this valley.
Yeah, Eureka is right in this valley, or the airport was. The town was actually kind of up the hill.
Right.
But yeah, we just circled up and then kept climbing and went over the ridge and proceeded down to Page. That was one of the more bumpy legs on a cross country that I've had.
Yeah, we fought.
Man, we were like, I mean, there were times where we were going like 50 degrees over, right. and then going back to straight and level because it was just a thermal would hit us, and
we were full power, pitching up to VX, just sinking.
And we're just sinking. We're still descending. Yeah, and then we get a gnarly updraft, and we gain 2,000 feet of altitude, right. And now we're at like 12.4, and we're like. We're supposed to be at 10.5, but we're VFR, so nobody cared.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we lucked out on weather and smooth air like 90% of the trip. That was probably the roughest leg we had.
That was, and we really did get fantastic
especially
weather.
Flying through the canyons and through the mountain areas. We lucked out with the really smooth air.
We did really luck out. It was. I've been on some trips where I've had just garbage weather. We certainly did luck out.
Yeah.
So after that, we departed Eureka. We went down to Page, landed at Page, and then we went to Horseshoe Bend.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick about Horseshoe Bend. I've been there before, 10 months before, and that was on the Coast to Coast series. That was part 5 of the Coast to Coast series. And Horseshoe Bend was absolutely amazing. There was like 40 people there when we were there. There's no railing. It was all very natural. It's kind of a rugged trail to get up and over there. Like not as improved as you would think a big tourist attraction would be, which I liked. It was like this hidden gem off the side of the highway. You don't pay for parking. It's a dirt parking lot. You're gonna blow right past it if you don't know it's there.
Right.
This time, there was like a big flashy sign, Horseshoe Bend this way, and there was coned off, and there was a turning lane for it. And I was like, what happened?
It was like you were going to the Super Bowl or something.
It was like you were going to the Super Bowl, and it was a cattle train of cars that go through this gate, and you pay $10 to get in now, park in a paved parking lot, and you walk up this very improved trail. There's signs everywhere that say no drone zone. Really? I mean, I get it. For the people who don't know what they're doing, I understand. But yeah, anyways, there was easily 1,000 people there.
Oh yeah, it was packed.
Tourists everywhere, big railing across the cliff, which is kind of like I get it, safety, but really,
it was just too commercialized.
It was very commercialized. That's a good word for it. It kind of became a tourist trap.
I was just waiting for the gift shop and food court at the end.
Man, it's coming. I swear it's coming. So anyways, we went to Horseshoe Bend. Then the next day we went down to Marble Canyon. What do you think about that?
That was killer.
I think that was kind of the highlight of the flying of the trip.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Good breakfast. That's I mean, just everything about it from the approach into there to landing to the departure.
Right.
The food.
Right.
It was cool.
It was all super cool, and I remembered that from the Coast to Coast trip, and I was like, okay, that's at least in a Cherokee, that's an airport I know we can do.
Right.
And I've been there, and I know we can do it. So we did go down there, and then I did put that little behind the scenes video up on Cockpit Club, and talked about a cop that you saw and stuff. And yeah, there was actually a question that came in about that, and I'll answer. Yeah, Tom, I see your question, and I'm going to answer that. But we spent an extra hour or an hour and a half there at the airport just filming, and he was going around the pattern, and I had the drone, got some really good shots there, and then got the shots on the ground and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that was probably the highlight of the flying.
Oh, absolutely. That was cool.
And then after that, I got in the left seat. Since you've already flown over the Grand Canyon, you've already landed at Sedona in the left seat yourself. I was like, you know what? I've never done either of those things in the left seat. I've always been in the right seat as a CFI. So I actually got in the left seat. After we got back from Marble Canyon, we loaded up at Page, got gas, and then we took off, and I flew us in the left seat over the Grand Canyon. We did 3 corridors that time instead of 2.
Yeah, the TFR was gone.
The
second
the
round.
TFR for the wildfire was gone. So we did the 3 corridors, went up and down the Grand Canyon, spectacular sights and everything. And then we went down to Sedona because we lost the audio from that. Landed at Sedona again, and then from there we went on to Winslow, Arizona. Stayed the night.
Saw the crater.
Saw the crater. Flew over the crater.
Saw the corner in Winslow. We stood on
a corner in
Arizona.
Winslow, Arizona. That's right.
You didn't sing me the song though.
I didn't sing you the song because I'm not into you like that. And that was pretty much the end of the trip. After Winslow, we just kind of hauled our butts home.
Yeah, we were both kind of ready to get home.
Yeah, the next day we just went straight home.
Caught some good tailwinds.
We had some pretty wicked tailwinds that day. We were like climbing up as high as we could to go as fast as we can. But yeah, that was pretty much the whole trip. Is there anything, like any points that you wanted to add or anything, any cool parts that I left out?
I think you hit it all. Just overall, it was such an awesome trip. I learned a ton. I mean, I've never really done any kind of mountain flying like that before.
And a lot of that wasn't even like legit mountain flying.
No,
we just didn't have the horsepower,
right,
to safely do it.
And we were heavy, and just conditions weren't right.
Right,
but it was cool. And like you said at the beginning, being able to, from a CFI standpoint, instruct and teach actually in those conditions.
Right.
You teach the theory of it, here in San Marcos or wherever you're based out of, and you're trying to teach high, density altitude operations, and it's hard to practice it. I mean, you go through all the steps, but it's just, you got to experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
Hands down.
It's you have to.
I mean, we were like 50 pounds under gross, pretty much most of the time.
Right. Until we burn fuel off.
Yeah. Until we, decided to cut fuel or throw bags out or something.
Right.
And it was just you, me, our bags, and fuel, and
cameras.
And yeah,
we don't pack that heavy. It's camera gear.
I think it was like, 150 pounds of camera gear.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
And then 100 pounds of luggage and other stuff.
Right. So I'm gonna just pause. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you.
No, you're good.
That's a really important point. I'm gonna forget it if I don't say it now. We are doing these things we're pushing the airplane pretty hard because we have so much gear. If it's just you and a friend, or you and your wife, you and your husband, whatever.
Oh, piece of cake.
Easy in a Cherokee.
Oh,
easy in a 172. And you have a lot of payload to spare. And thus, if you don't use that payload, you've got a lot of performance to spare. We didn't really have that luxury because of all my camera equipment and all the camera charging gear. I mean, like 2 heavy Pelican cases, tripod, drone, like all this stuff.
Yep.
That takes up a lot of weight. If it's just, 2 people in bags, easy.
Yeah, easy. And DA just plays such a huge role in it. I mean, I flew to Houston the other day for work it was me and 2 other guys in full tanks, and pretty close to gross, not quite as heavy as we were, but sure. DA was, maybe 700 feet.
Right.
And we were just leaping off the runway, climbing like crazy, and it's night and day, and it's really it's a neat experience to experience that firsthand.
Sure.
Just as a an experienced pilot's point of view, just to see it and do it firsthand.
Right. And then I think you mentioned that taking off out of Marble Canyon with like no bags, not even me in the plane.
Right.
It was kind of sluggish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a noticeable difference just with you and the bags out, but if it's me in the plane to fuel to the tabs, it burns up almost no runway.
Right.
But,
down here.
Yeah, down here.
Yeah.
But in Marble Canyon, I forget what the field elevation was, but
it's like 3,900.
Right. When it's
something like that.
Yeah, and it was, I think, fairly warm that day.
Yeah, it was decently warm.
But
I remember sweating.
Yeah, lots of sweating.
Lots of sweating.
It's just a whole another ball game.
Yeah, density altitude is a huge thing, and we experienced that pretty much across the board on this trip, and you're going to do that anytime you go out west, and that's just it's part of it. But an important point, and that's the point that I wanted to make was, if it's just 2 people and bags in the airplane, no camera equipment or no camping equipment or anything like that, it's so easy in a Cherokee.
Oh yeah,
super easy in a 172, no big deal at all.
I'd like to go back with my brother and my dad and just 2 of us. And
leave Josh on the ground.
Yeah, you can follow us.
I get it. Yeah, I'll take a separate plane.
Yeah. But 2 people and a duffel bag or 2, and that'd be a breeze.
Right. And we're actually talking about going back and exploring some of those areas that and taking 2 separate planes.
Right.
Because then we could kind of divvy up the payload.
Right.
And kind of be a little bit lighter in that regard, and then
get some awesome formation shots.
Oh yeah,
That'd be cool.
I love formation. So anyways, so that's the High West trip. I think we pretty much covered everything on that.
I think so.
In that regard. So if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and start addressing some of these questions here. Looks like we've got a few. Wow, we have a whopping 6 viewers now. Ooh, we're cooking with peanut oil now, man. All right, so first up is Tom Klein here. Those were great. He's referring to the behind the scenes footage that I posted regarding I think I had the tripod out there by the runway and stuff, and I mentioned that Miles told me you actually didn't say it over the radio. You texted me because you didn't want to say it over the radio, and I was like, I saw the text and I picked up the radio and I was like, "Where's the cop?" and he said, "I think I can't tell, but I think there's a cop sitting by the runway." Looking at what we're doing.
So it looked like a state park police.
Or you said reservation security or something.
Yeah, so they pulled up right to the end of the runway where you get out and go walk across the street to the restaurant.
And no, they did not stop by. By the time we got back down to the other end of the runway and we were getting ready to pack up the airplane and leave, the officer was nowhere to be found. Didn't see a truck, no SUV, no squad car, nothing.
They're probably just not used to seeing much activity.
They're probably not used to seeing somebody with one boot up on the step, one boot up on the wing with a tripod holding onto the handle into the wind while you're taxiing. I was standing on the step and on the wing while he was taxiing down the runway, and I just needed a ride down to midfield.
Right.
And I wasn't about to walk that. That would have been like a half mile.
Yeah.
Or a quarter mile. But yeah, that probably didn't look right from the highway. So that's probably why somebody maybe they took it upon themselves. I don't know, but no, the cop did not stop by. But if they did, I was fully prepared to be like, I was wearing jeans and a tucked in polo with the logo and everything. I was fully prepared to be like, oh, we're just out here filming a documentary, and we're kind of promoting the lodge and that kind of stuff, and
bringing some tourism to your area.
Yeah, and if they had a problem with that, then I would say, okay, well, you're not getting my business again. But I was prepared to be cordial and answer the questions that they might have and stuff like that, but they did not stop by. All right. Let's see here. Up next. And Tom, you also said, please post photos sometimes of your fan engineering. Will do. I don't want to put that on Instagram and stuff, but I will certainly post it to Cockpit Club. It was really, really simple. And basically the meat and potatoes of what that's going to be is going to be a link to the fans that I got. They're on Amazon, I think, and they were really, really cheap. They're about that big. They were 40 millimeter fans.
Those are cool.
And I used command strips, like the command strip Velcro, to attach them to the side of the cameras, so they're detachable, and they're powered by USB. And I power all the cameras. The cameras are powered anyways by USB batteries, and so I just routed those USB cables right to the batteries as well. And the fans would run. They kept circulation. I'll definitely post some pictures about that. I'm going to actually write that down. Post pics of fans. The electronic fans, not fans.
Ceiling fan?
Yeah, ceiling fan. All right, Matt Peterson here. So what was worse, that or the bent elevator incident? I assume you're referring to the audio flub. The bent elevator incident, you're comparing apples and oranges here. That was a lot more expensive. And that took a lot longer to recover from because there was so much, the elevator on the airplane had to be replaced. For those of you who don't know, I bent the elevator on our 172 one time because I was in a rush to put the airplane away. I forgot to get my truck out of the hangar before pushing the airplane into the hangar. And I realized it just at the last second as I was pushing it in, and I tried to like pull back on the tow bar and stop it, and I didn't. Elevator smacked the bumper, bent the crap out of it, and the elevator had to be replaced. Elevator incident was much, much worse. Audio, I can learn from it. There was no loss. It's fine. We kind of rendered a bunch of footage useless, but we can cope with that, and we did, and we retraced our steps, and we made it work.
Refly some of the awesome scenes.
Yeah, and we got to kind of do some of it over again and retrace our steps. So this is another question from Matt, and I see your reply there. Yep. What was the toughest PPL check ride maneuver for you to master, and how did you overcome it? I'm about 48 hours and closing in on mine. Early congratulations to passing your private pilot check ride. That's really awesome. That's tough. I'm trying to remember back to my private pilot check ride. So toughest private pilot check ride maneuver to master. I struggled a lot with steep turns.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Okay. So we're on the same page. So is that your toughest? Okay.
Steep turns for sure.
Steep turns were a real problem for me because I was 100% looking in the wrong place. Look out the window. Mm-hmm. Glance at your altimeter every now and then. Glance at your airspeed every now and then. Your vertical speed is not so useful in that maneuver. It's delayed.
Right.
The vertical speed indicator is delayed. It's measuring a trend of where the air pressure is going. Is it increasing or decreasing? Your altimeter, look at the tip of the needle of the altimeter. Don't fixate on it. Just glance at it. Where is it in comparison to where it was when you looked away from it?
Right.
Is it moving up? Is it moving down? And then just adjust your elevator pressure accordingly to that. Set your power when you enter the steep turn. Look out the window. Look at the cowling and keep that nose right on the horizon, and I guarantee you're going to start to nail steep turns if you're having problems with them. You may not even be having problems with those, but that was a big issue with mine. Do you have anything to add to that?
I found myself fixating on the artificial horizon because I was trying to peg, okay, am I steep enough?
Yep.
Am I, approaching 90 degrees, 60 degrees, 30, where am I? And you want to know, but eyes outside is the biggest thing.
Eyes outside is a huge thing.
Trim, if you trim the airplane right, it'll fly itself.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, you can let go of the controls and it'll just stay in the steep turn.
Right.
Load it up with G's and it'll keep going.
Right.
So yeah, that was certainly the most challenging for me. That
and then I wouldn't say it was challenging, but they kind of changed the procedures up on how they want it done, but stalls. I don't know about when you did yours, if they did the full break and all that.
I did the full break. Now with the ACS, it's a bit different. It's more like a hearing test.
Right.
You're checking to see if the stall horn works.
Right.
And the thing about a stall horn is it's a stall warning. You're taking it to the stall warning.
Right.
You're not taking it to a full stall.
Right.
Okay. Let's not get into the ACS and PTS. That's like a whole other live stream. Don't get me fired up. So anyways, all right. Let's see. Your steep turns Matt replied here, your steep turns are actually not bad. Just goes to show that everyone is different. That's absolutely right. And that's something to keep in mind when taking advice about a check ride and stuff like that. Bear in mind everybody's different. Every examiner is different. Every examiner is going to treat everybody different. And it's wholly based on how you are acting at the onset of the check ride, and they're going to feel you out. They're going to feel what kind of person you are. If they get a sense that you're, really humble and safe, they're probably going to not be rude to you, and they're not going to try and break you. If they get a sense that you're arrogant and real proud, they're going to probably be a bit harder on you.
Right.
I've seen it happen. Seen it happen so many times, and it's really astonishing, the difference, but that's what they got to do. They got to analyze your character.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing any other questions come through, and we've got 5 viewers still right now, and it looks like that's about it for the questions. So thanks. Let's see. Okay, so Tom Klein sent another message here. So back in 1994, we did spins. I guess you young folks don't do that anymore. We do for the CFI spin endorsement. You have to have a spin endorsement to get your CFI. And we certainly do spins. We have to let the fin fully develop. We have to let the spin fully develop and demonstrate the recovery, and we have to know how to teach the recovery. And that's oftentimes something that comes up on the CFI oral. So yes, we absolutely do spins. I love spins. I love teaching spins. I think they're fun. Have you ever done spins?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to go up and do them at some point.
But they don't do it for the private.
No, you don't need to do them for the private.
Right.
Which I disagree with.
Right. Oh, I wish I would have loved to done training.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's probably, Tom, that's probably what you're asking. For the private pilot curriculum, spins are not required. I certainly disagree with that. Yeah. I think they should be required. And if you can't, if you're like, a lot of people don't practice spins, or they never even get any sort of spin training because they're just terrified of it. You're flying an airplane. You're not, like, I get it, you're not flying an extra or a Pitts, but
you should know
you should know what a spin is, what it looks like when you get into one, so you can recognize it and then know how to recover from it. Right. A lot of people just have no clue. They see the spin and they don't even bother with the rudder. They just go opposite aileron to stop the bank, and you just aggravated it.
Right.
You just made the spin worse. So yeah, that's. I wish they would require them, and maybe at some point in the future they will, but we'll see. There's actually a couple more questions coming in here. We are going to have to wrap this up in about 5 minutes, and then we still need to draw a name for the headset drawing, Zulu 3. And let's see. My shorts and softs, on the other hand, not so much. So Matt, I assume you're having issues here. Let me put that on the screen so I can see it. That's in reference to we were just talking about steep turns and what maneuvers do we struggle with. Short and soft field landings are kind of a tricky one. They can yield a lot of issues for people because they don't understand, they weren't taught what the purpose of each of those landings are. And yeah, like a short field landing, okay, yeah, it's for a short field. A soft field landing, okay, yeah, it's for a soft field. But getting down the making the motions and how you're flying the maneuver fluid, I feel like is something that a lot of CFIs skip. So read the Airplane Flying Handbook if you haven't. That's a book I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's by the FAA. It's free. You can get the PDF online. I prefer the hardcovers, so I usually buy them off Amazon or some pilot shop or something. But read the Airplane Flying Handbook, and I find that it explains things incredibly well. So definitely go do that. Couple more questions here. We only have time for maybe 2 more. When do we get jackets in the e-store? Not sure if we're going to do that. So actually, there are quarter zip pullovers that are just about to go live on the e-store. I need somebody to photograph me wearing them so I can put them on the e-store. It's such an awkward topic. But yeah, soon a quarter zip is going to be coming to the e-store. So let's see. All right, and Matt, I appreciate the invite to, let's see, where was that? Did I recognize that town? Oh, Guthrie. I've been to Guthrie, Oklahoma. Been to that airport. I appreciate the invite. I will certainly let you know if I am in that area. So it looks like that's it for questions. So we'll go ahead and draw a name.
All right.
Once again, this is let me make sure this is the correct box. Okay, yeah. It says it right here. It's the Lightspeed Zulu 3. Lightspeed is a huge sponsor of the channel. They make I have such a good relationship with them. They're such a great company. They're a small company up in Oregon.
Keith.
Oh, okay, Keith. All right, we're going to put this on the screen real quick. Keith Yules. When is Miles getting his tailwheel endorsement? Keith is the instructor that just did my tailwheel.
I'm ready when you are.
When I am or when he is?
When he and the plane is.
You hear that, Keith?
Are you ready to teach tailwheeling?
Oh, God, no. God, no. I could barely even do a wheel landing. I can't. And I don't even know if my 3 points are okay because I haven't practiced them in a while. So, yeah, get on that, man. Get your tailwheel endorsement.
I want to be a real pilot someday.
You want to be a real pilot. That's right. So, anyways, Lightspeed is an absolutely fantastic company. They are an aviation company, a legit aviation company. They focus on products for pilots, by pilots. And that's not their slogan. I just came up with that. They are a company of aviators, and they're designing products for aviators. And that's why I'm super passionate about their products, and they're super passionate about what we do here at Aviation 101. So, I mean, big shout out to Lightspeed. They make stuff like this possible. They make this live stream and all the equipment that's running here and the lighting and everything. They make all of this stuff possible. So if you're looking for a headset and you don't win this one, definitely go check out the Lightspeed website. The link to their websites and their products is down in the description of all of my recent videos. So just go check that out. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and draw a name. And everything's sliced up in here. I'm not going to look at a name. I'm going to pull it out. Oh, and by the way, some of y'all have your names, and then some of y'all have your email addresses. Rest assured, we're going to get in touch with you and figure out who you are, because we have the whole database and we can get to them. So I'm going to pull a name here. Let's see who this is. All right.
Who's the lucky winner?
Jean-Baptiste Truche. T-R-O-U-C-H-E. Truche. It's French. Jean-Baptiste. Am I saying that right?
That guy.
I'm terribly sorry if I mispronounced it. I think I got it relatively right. We're going to get in touch with you. You are the recipient of this Lightspeed Zulu 3. So we're gonna get in touch with you, make sure we got your correct information. We're going to get that shipped out to you. So congratulations on that. We're going to do this right now. Quarterly is when we're going to do the giveaway. So this is Q4 of 2019. That's what we're giving away right now. The next one will be Q1 of 2020. That's probably going to be in about the February, March area, is what I'm thinking, and then we'll go from there. So, Jean, congratulations on the Lightspeed Zulu 3. We'll get that sent off to you, and I believe that's it for the live stream. It's everything on my notes. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I think that's it.
I think that's it too. I think we covered it fairly thoroughly, and we're right at about an hour of being live. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope that as we progress with this stuff, we're going to boost the audience a bit here. Right now we have 7 viewers, which is awesome. We were starting with like 2, and I was like,
I think I'm one of them. I was one of them. We were doing some testing.
You have it open on your phone back there?
Testing it out.
Yeah, we were doing a bunch of testing to make sure nothing was going to crash and burn, which actually, no equipment failures so far. We're about to end it. So
Perfect.
Good deal. Once again, I appreciate your absolutely loyal support here on Cockpit Club of Aviation 101. I'm extremely passionate about flying, extremely passionate about filmmaking, and that's what all of this is about. It's not about, a lot of people have told me, the haters, at least over the years, over email and stuff, they're like, oh, this is all about you. And I'm, what? No. No, it's not. It's about sharing the love of aviation and sharing the places we can go with it, the people we can meet with it. Just, it's absolutely amazing stuff, and I love sharing it. Love sharing it, and that's what this is all about. So once again, I appreciate you tuning in, and this concludes live stream number 1, and I will be posting more on Cockpit Club to keep you guys updated on when the next one is. So cheers. I appreciate you tuning in, and stay happy, stay healthy, stay current, but most importantly, stay proficient. And fly safe. Did I get that right? Is that good?
Happy, healthy, current, proficient. You got it.
Okay, all right. Sweet. Signing off.